Good afternoon, everybody that's out there in the virtual world of Zoom and attending our webinar. Today, we are again sponsoring another free webinar. And today's topic will be From Legacy to Leadership, Scaling Insurance Innovation with Low Code. It is Thursday, August 21st, 1 p.m. Eastern. I have a special guest joining us today. Kevin, please introduce yourself and what role do you share or have at Decisions, and how would people get to know you better?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I think this goes for both of us, but I'm in a really lucky position here at Decisions to be able to work with some of our largest accounts. And a lot of
Mhm.
those are in the insurance and financial services space. And it's always fun to be in a position where you see leaders make different decisions when they're approaching the same topics. And
Mhm.
that's something we'll be able to talk about today, hoping to share what we've learned as we've observed insurance leaders take different approaches to adopting different types of technology.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to going deeper into that subject as we move forward. I'm going to set the stage for a little bit, and then we'll jump into the dialogue between myself and Kevin. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to post those in the Q&A or the chat section, and we will address those accordingly. Um, I'm going to give a brief interview or overview of Decisions, what we do. Um, Today's conversation will explore, building a center of excellence for low code adoption, the impact of AI on low code innovation in insurance, the rise of citizen development, and what it means for IT and operations. So buckle your seatbelts. This may not be a very bumpy ride. It will be very informative, very valuable for those that are listening, and everybody else who missed out, well, you'll have to catch us next time. Okay, so jumping into Decisions, I'm going to go through three primary use cases that people use us for. Our first one being our rules engine, our logic engine and capabilities. There are about 9 different ways that you can drag and drop rules to be used within your organization. Um, think about being able to take data that exists in multiple databases, being able to take that data out, run it through a rule set, and then having that data become intelligent or actionable. And so that's how a decision engine can be used. We have multiple use cases in insurance that Kevin will talk about today. There's a very large insurance provider that is using us from a leads management perspective. You may see that commercial, and for those that know us well, know who we're talking about. The other thing that we do is we extend and expand existing applications. And what I'm talking about there is I bet nobody's ever been down the road of customizing their Salesforce or their SAP instance so much that when it comes time to update or upgrade that application, they get stuck in version lock or they're afraid to pull that upgrade button because they don't know what would break or could break. So with Decisions, you could extend the capabilities of those applications, build out a complementary automation. We have an example of how we've done this with Salesforce. Myself or Kevin or the other members of the sales team would gladly walk you through this if you would like to meet us for a demonstration on the way we use Decisions. We drink our own Kool-Aid to extend capabilities within these applications within our tech stack. The other thing that we do extremely well is act like a middleware, act like an orchestration layer. And so what you're seeing here on my screen could be that example of data living in your CRM, in HubSpot, in ZoomInfo, in SAP, and either scheduling a job and decisions, going out, grabbing that data. Say if you wanted to process a claim and that information resided in multiple databases and you need to be able to make a decision, pardon the pun, on that data, you would be able to use Decisions to access those databases, run that data through a rule set, and then present it to a claims person, an underwriter, maybe a customer service representative to be able to satisfy those customers' needs. We also are going to be speaking a lot about an AI perspective today. We've also got some agentic use cases that is just the tip of the iceberg with this large subject of AI that is coming at us each and every day. Um, if any of this strikes a chord with you, we would love to meet you in a demonstration. We do this virtually, but if you like, Kevin and I will get on an airplane. We will come see you face to face, and we will explore ways that decisions can impact your organization. So, Kevin, here we go. Where does low code, no code promise to have the most transformative impact for insurance?
Yeah, no, this is going to be great, Jeff. We'll go through a series of questions here, but starting with this one and making it very specific to insurance. A lot of what we'll talk about today can apply to, enterprise architects
Mm-hmm.
at some of the largest carriers in the world. And they can also apply to top 100 or even smaller agencies who have a very different business model, but still need to use technology to accomplish a lot of their goals.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to low code, no code, and what that promise is, I tend to think of two primary areas where we can have the biggest impact. One would be how quickly it enables you to adopt new technology over time within an existing enterprise architecture. And you touched on this on the orchestration slide that we just saw. There are many existing systems that leaders are trying to manage.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with more progress here in the world of AI, how quickly can you plug in different puzzle pieces to take advantage of new technology? So it's not just a matter of building things quickly because it's visual.
Mm-hmm.
It's also what puzzle pieces, what new technologies can you plug into that visual environment, and how quickly can you deploy them?
Mm-hmm.
The second, oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, go ahead. Go ahead. I was going to just ask a question, but go ahead.
Yeah, you're good. So number one is how fast can you adopt new technology? Number two is where does the business need to change quickly?
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of cases, that change is being held up by technology that requires special expertise, code level changes to go and make some type of an adjustment. So, number two, where can we expose business logic to the business so they
Mm-hmm.
can change it with the appropriate controls instead of relying solely on the technology team?
Mm-hmm. Kevin, when you talk about low code or no code and the impact, the promise, the value that it can bring to organizations, I, like you, talk to hundreds of organizations on a monthly basis and continually see, lack of orchestration, lack of visibility between these databases, or the lack of agility when something changes, ratings changes, pricing changes, regulation changes. Are you hearing similar type of situations, or would you add to that by any means?
No, it's the classic story of silos, right? It
Mm-hmm.
just comes from how organizations grow, what the separation of responsibilities are in an organization as it grows. And sometimes that puts up unintentional walls
Mm-hmm.
from being able to make a change quickly. So I think as we talk about, some of the other questions we have today, we'll be able to touch on how to break down some of those barriers.
Perfect. Thank you for that. How can a center of excellence guide a low code adoption, ensure governance, not having a SharePoint situation, and maximize impact across the enterprise?
Yeah, this is a really exciting topic for me right now, given some work that we're doing
Mm-hmm.
with a large carrier. And the same model can be applied to any organization. Uh, but the Center of Excellence model really implies that you have dedicated resources to a transformation initiative. At some large organizations, you already have, in most cases, a transformation office, right? You have people with titles like VP of Transformation,
Mm-hmm.
and generally they'll have, this, well, in a lot of cases, funny circumstance where They have their mandate to go and see a transformation effort through, but they kind of need to bring people together, including
Mhm.
budgets that they have, to make any change.
Mhm.
Different organizations are different in how they set up those transformation offices, right? And how they fund them. But the Center of Excellence model specifically really takes the initiative outside of traditional technology backlogs and funds it such that you can take advantage of this low code, no code promise.
Mhm.
And we're doing some really interesting things in the product itself to be able to accept candidate projects, transformation projects from anywhere in the business. And then
Mhm.
this committee inside the Center of Excellence can prioritize which transformation project they want to take on first. And
Mhm.
once it's prioritized and approved, then the resources are there. The people are there to go and actually build it quickly and deploy it.
Mhm.
Because in this case, decisions platform will be already plugged in to all the data sources that you want to use.
Fantastic. Kevin, would you, in your experience and with Decisions experience and the clients that we have that are insurance centric, would you say that there are strategies or tools that we can leverage to really drive home the value of that center of excellence and what is attainable, what is achievable? What would be
Yeah.
your thoughts there?
Well, one common model I'm seeing is when we take in these project candidates from
Hmm.
anywhere in the business, any
Hmm.
employee can submit these requests, right? We're asking them to quantify impact in some way. And then the committee, when they're reviewing these projects, they're really looking closely at what the potential impact of these projects could be. That focus on impact is something that can then live with the project when it's deployed. So you'll have a literal dashboard inside
Hmm.
decisions once that project is deployed, and
Hmm.
you'll be able to see the real impact that that transformation has had compared to what it was. And then this is kind of the coup d'etat of the transformation office that I'm working with. They're going to have a library of projects deployed on decisions with clear impact stated for each project. And that will just give them more and more momentum as the initiative grows.
Very nice. And that impact could be from an ROI perspective, it could be from an initiative perspective, it could be from a visibility perspective. I would imagine that the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, pick the KPI, whatever's important to the executives, right?
Fantastic. Very cool. Thank you. In what ways is AI accelerating the capabilities of low code and insurance, and how can organizations prepare to take full advantage of this new energy, if you will?
Yeah. This goes back to kind of that first way that low code, no code can have an impact. It's how do
Mhm.
we enable the adoption of new technology? Every new model that's released from OpenAI or anybody else is presenting new opportunities for automation. And
Mhm.
I hate to, hop on the bandwagon and throw the agentic phrase out there, but there are real ways now, and we've seen them in production,
Mhm.
where you can use artificial intelligence to get work done. The thing that most people tend to not realize is where the line is between process orchestration,
Mhm.
no code, low code, and AI. Where is that handoff? And where really should it be to make sure that AI is adopted in a compliant way and
Mhm.
in a way that is easily auditable?
Mhm.
That's where we're seeing the most success right now, is focused efforts on the experts who have the AI capability. And there's some really cool things we're doing in the platform to present these capabilities. But whether you build the AI agent inside decisions, or
Mhm.
if you bring a partner to the table, a big systems integrator that you're working with, or a boutique consultant if you're a smaller agency, right? If they can bring the AI capabilities to the table, the question is still going to be, how do you make all the data in your organization available to the agent so that it can get the work done And then how are you going to make that auditable?
hmm hmm Very interesting. You know, when the release of ChatGPT came out last year, it was I was amazed at the kind of the response from the industry. And I cannot tell you how many people I talked to that were like, AI can do this, AI can do that. But the experience that I had was that nobody realized that the AI may be the brain, but there was no infrastructure to support it, right? There was no skeletal muscles, there was no ligaments, right? And that plays very heavily into our orchestration perspective. Would you agree?
But yeah, but think about the risk there.
Mm-hmm.
Because AI is changing so much,
Mm-hmm.
if you built, let's just call it an agent, and it was deployed standalone, when the next model comes out, or if another capability from a different vendor comes out that you want to adopt, you're refactoring that entire silo.
Exactly.
But when you deploy the capability onto the fabric that Decisions provides, you can do some really smart things around just switching the model that's used. In
Mm-hmm.
some cases, we're even seeing opportunities for Decisions to dynamically choose which model to do which task that's being orchestrated. So it's really about risk reduction
Mm-hmm.
when you're adopting new technology like AI, as much as it is the ROI that comes from the new technology.
Fantastic. What are the opportunities and risks of empowering non-technical teams to build with low code, and how should IT and operations adapt?
Yes. Low code, no code, dare I use the phrase citizen developer.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these words are actually fairly loaded in
Mm-hmm.
different organizations. And the thing that most people assume when they hear these terms is that anybody can build anything. And while that's always kind of the push, whether you're vibe coding with new AI tools or you're learning how to do it visually, with a tool like Decisions, or both. We're starting to introduce some vibe coding capabilities, right, inside of Decisions. At the end of the day, you still need to be able to connect to data sources in a responsible way. You
Mm-hmm.
still need to manage the technology risk of deploying things to production. So, one of the last things that IT wants to hear is that everybody's going to build and deploy whatever they want. And that's why you get this visceral reaction from some IT leaders around ghost subscriptions of like other players in the space like Zapier, right? Everyone creates an account, connects to Google Drive and starts building stuff. That's really, really risky and really just
Mm-hmm.
not possible in
Mm-hmm.
a lot of large organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, one, you have the compliance risk and the data security risk that you need to manage. Two, you have the operational risk of deploying solutions like this that you need to manage, still having, IT play a role in approving what changes
Mm-hmm.
are being deployed. And then you have all of the data security risks there too. Did I say that at number one? I think that
Yeah.
was different things, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. What culture and process changes are essential to unlock the combined promise of low code AI and citizen developer?
Yeah, this is a good question that brings a lot of what we've been talking about
Mm-hmm.
together. And I want to right away say that, well, let's again not consider citizen development as this promise that we're going to let everyone build whatever they want. Instead, citizen development should really represent, the capability of an organization to rapidly deploy technology solutions, especially as more and more of the workforce has kind of come up uh, technology native, right?
Mhm.
Everyone knows how to use a lot of these tools now.
Mhm.
When you put these ideas together, citizen development, AI, and low code, the biggest blocker that I'm seeing is not having really this dedicated transformation function.
Mhm.
Instead, you see, the traditional partnership between an operations leader and a technology leader. And together, they're doing this tug and pull of what's a priority for something to change and what
Mhm.
capabilities do we have internally to make that change happen,
Yep.
right? That's the equation that we want to really look closely at and see if we can bring a capability to the table with the decisions platform that can fundamentally change how quickly these new things can be deployed.
Mhm.
When you look at, um, again, this large carrier that we're working with, well, actually, I'll use a different example. I'm stuck right now trying to get a project off the ground with a top 100 agency. And there's the operations leader,
Mhm.
and then there's the technology leader. And one of the areas of impact that we're trying to address is the backlog. Oh, what a word that everyone really doesn't like to say or talk about, the backlog. The backlog from the technology team just represents ROI that you could have if you could just get it deployed, right? If you could
Mhm.
just build these things and deploy them, all of your goals would be accomplished for the year. But there's just a limit on how much the
Mhm.
technology team can actually get done with the resources that we have. So
Mhm.
that's a common place where we find a lot of success, whether we're bringing AI to the table as a new technology that you can adopt faster with the
Mhm.
decisions fabric that you deploy, or whether it's really just process orchestration across the rest of the systems and bringing a new type of skilled person to the table, a new role who's not a software developer, right? But who's more of a business analyst who can also create applications, but because we abstract away all of the complex code pieces, we're going to give them the
Mhm.
building blocks they can use to go and build stuff. But there's still going to be checks and balances with the technology organization to deploy it. It's just a matter of dedicating resources to a new way of deploying technology solutions.
Mhm. I hear all the time that, technology is the quicker, better, more efficient way to do things, and that, I hear that change management is critical for success. But I also hear, and you're kind of speaking to it a little bit there, like the ability of low code, the ability of AI, the ability of citizen development to really put people back in the seat of being what they're good at, having relationships with people, right?
Mm,
And eliminating the hurdle of technology that I've got to key something in, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that, but getting us back to being relevant at what we're good at, being in relationship with people.
mhm.
People don't buy technology from technology. They buy technology from people they like, they trust, and they can glean experience from. So my soapbox, sorry. How do we enable innovation at the speed while avoiding shadow IT and maintaining a clean, secure architecture?
Yeah, I think this is a good question where we can take a step back
Hmm.
and try to take maybe the vendor hat off a little bit and simply acknowledge that there are a lot of ways you can go and build software. You know, you've always had code. No code, low code kind of abstracts that so that you can use higher level building blocks to build things faster.
Hmm.
But we're also not the only vendor. There's a lot of other tools out there that are also low code, no code. And some of them require more of a technical skill set than others. But I think one area that makes decisions really unique is how we've grown to a place where we put managing these projects as at the focus, at the center of any development initiative. And then we have all of these building blocks that benefit not only the process that you're trying to build, but also its deployment. And then
Mhm.
most of all, who you can make involved in changing the business logic. Like there's so many layers here, but most tools that I see really only give you one layer that's above the code.
Mhm.
Here at Decisions, though, we've found a way to provide a series of layers within this idea of low code, no code to meet different types of users in the business where they're at without training, if needed, to be able to change the business logic in any of these applications. And that makes us really unique.
Fantastic. I appreciate that. So just to kind of repeat a little bit, why low code matters for insurance. One, we've kind of touched on this, faster innovation, the ability to move at the speed of business, the ability to bring new puzzle pieces to the table faster than ever before. Improved compliance instead of releasing an application into the environment. I can think of numerous examples where all of a sudden everybody's got their own iteration. So improved compliance, better customer experience. I would think if I think of anything that I interact with from a mobile perspective, my attention span is about this long, or my kids interrupt me, or something happens, and then I'm on to the next thing. Being able to deploy technology faster gives you the ability to keep your customers' attention longer. Um, Scalability, being able to put applications and process into the environment and leverage them quicker. And then integrated decision making. You would be surprised how many different use cases you could leverage a decision engine for making that logic, making that data actionable and intelligent. If there are any questions, please post them in the chat. Kevin, do you think that there's anything that we didn't cover today that may elicit a question, or do you think we're good?
Oh, we covered a lot, but there's always more.
There's always more. That's right. We do have a question in the chat.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm not seeing it, but oh, maybe.
I think I see it here. All right. Yeah. So the question, if we build an AI agent using N8N or other platforms, it can orchestrate and expand directly with Salesforce, HubSpot, SAP. Why do we need the decisions layer? And great question. It kind of gets to what we were talking about in the last topic that we covered, in that, from custom code up to other vendors,
Mhm.
there are a lot of ways that you can use web services or database connections to orchestrate process among multiple systems, or specifically these big monoliths, right? The CRMs, the ERPs. So what, if I can change the question just a little bit, why do we need decisions? What makes decisions different, or what makes decisions unique? I think it goes back to what I was saying in that last topic, where you have to really evaluate where the people who are going to be building these things are going to live, at what layer in this series
Mhm.
of abstractions do you want someone to be able to live? When you look at tools like N8N, for example, growing rapidly, really exciting to see how they're marrying a lot of AI capabilities with what they do too. It's still a fairly technical environment, and the building blocks are fairly granular. And that's not really a slight at all towards N8N. It's more of an acknowledgement that you're going to need to maintain many other small pieces to be able to accomplish the same objective. Where, because of the experience we've had working with the customers we've been serving since 2010, we have a lot of additional functions inside of our puzzle pieces that help to make whatever people are building more compliant with internal policy, more flexible with how changes can be made to the process without having to do a full redeployment or a full update. There's just many other places where we can meet a user to let them make changes without having to manage a granular building block inside of something like n8n.
I think we've got, do we have one more? Let me see. If we want to build HR portal with decisions, so is it provide the capability to cover all features of HR portal, including connecting APIs of attendance or payroll, etc.?
Yeah. I mean, there's always more to learn here, right? I'd love to hear more about what the goals of the HR portal are. But if the primary concern is being able to talk to other systems to bring data into a customer facing or employee facing experience, something like a service desk type of experience, or maybe HR portal simply means, log in, see what applications you can use. Yes, Decisions is a fantastic solution for something like this. You're always going to have the build versus buy, right? There are a lot of off the shelf solutions that provide this capability, but it's going to be a matter of, can they support integrations to what you're wanting to talk to? And do you have anything that's unique, in your business that you want to be able to deliver through the HR portal that something off the shelf might not support? It's always that 80-20 rule that we find, right? Off the shelf vendors generally provide 80% of what you need, but there's always that 20%. So how are you going to manage that 20%? You're going to build some custom code to extend it? Are you going to pay the vendor to create something special for you so you're locked into that vendor more? Or are you going to use a tool like Decisions to create this automation fabric and extend any of your applications in the business so that they can all talk together and get work done?
And to elaborate a little bit on what Kevin's talking about, the other thing that I think is unique about Decisions is that if you went with an off-the-shelf solution, and to Kevin's point, 80% of that covers what you need, you could use Decisions to cover that additional 20%, right? What's nice about Decisions is you could start anywhere that you're not having impact or value today, build out a project, build out a use case, establish value by leveraging Decisions, and then grow your relationship from that perspective. So, to Kevin's point, a lot of these point solutions, this is the way you use it. If you want to customize it, well, be careful. With Decisions, you can use Decisions any way you would like. You could start with HR, you could start with accounting, you could start anywhere. I'm a fan of saying Decisions is a lot like a box of Legos. It just takes the individual that's had the experience, or has maybe not the experience, the desire to go out there and bring automation to other business departments that make them relevant. I don't think we have any other questions. So what's next? If we touched on anything today that sparks your interest, we'd love to have a demonstration with you. You can schedule a demonstration at sales@decisions.com. You can attend one of our events. We're getting ready to schedule a quarterly online training event called Submerse. And you can find us at trade show events if you're lucky enough to shake our hands and meet us. Thank you very much for the time. Kevin, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for your industry expertise and insight, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.